Hello, very good morning to all of you to this wonderful event. This is the second day of our event, and today we're going to start the fourth academic session. Here we have five papers, and all this paper is going to presided by Dr. Grace Darling. Now she is absent, so now the yeah, Professor Mehta sir is present in her place. Again, I welcome to all of you. Now I can announce the name of a presenter. Firstly, my name is here, Dr. Raju Lachan Behra, and Dr. Mona Apurva Saha, Ganesh, Onita Yadav, Rakesh. Now, I would like to request Onita Yadav. She is the PhD research scholar in this department, working under Professor. Yes, I can invite all the presenter to the dais to have their seat. Anita Yadav, Rakesh, Ganesh, Mono Apurva Saha, Mono Apurva Saha, and now we are going to welcome them with Sal and Garland to Anita Yadav, Ganesh, Rakesh,
And Rajiv, you also he also has a paper. This session.
Ma'am, please, ma'am, please.
Please, please. So now I was actually working as secretary. So she has to chair this session. So she was on the way. So I was just please, please. Yes, yes.
Our chairperson of this session is present now, Dr. Grace Darling. So,
So, hello. I just wanted to so I just wanted to inform you all that one of the objectives of this fund is to promote Jain studies. Promote Jain studies amongst young scholars also, and that too in English medium. So the medium of expression mostly is English. So I requested a few of my research scholars here, the research scholars of this department, since as you know that we are here, most of the things are going in Hindi medium. But since an objective of this project is to promote Jain studies in English medium, so I requested a few research scholars, I made a special request to them to try to speak in English and try to present their papers in English. So our objective is to encourage the Jain studies
in
through
global.
English medium. So I would request you all to encourage the research scholars who are presenting their papers. Since they are not so fluent in English, they are not habitual of English medium, but still they have accepted and they dare to present their papers in English. So this was my humble request to all of you, and I just wanted to inform you that by that I remember in 81 in the same hall, I presented my paper first time as a research scholar in this hall. That time I joined as this department as a research scholar after completing my master's from this department. So that was my first paper, and I was the only research scholar to present the paper in that seminar.
Seminar.
That was on scientific temper and Advait Vedanta. Topic of the seminar was that. And that time it was Center of Studies, Center of Advanced Studies. So that was the seminar, and I remember Professor Raman was there,
Rama sir.
Professor Kamlakar Mishra ji was there, Professor Harsh Narayan ji was there, Professor Lakshmi Nidhi Sharma ji was there. They all were my teachers. And I remember, still I remember when I presented my paper, I thought, yeah, I have presented the best one. But then after a few years, I came to know that mine was the worst one. But those teachers, they encouraged me so much in that seminar. I cannot say, I cannot explain. They encouraged me so much. But then after few years, I came to know that what I was that time. So my humble request is to that we have to encourage our young scholars who have at least shown a courage to present papers. Huh? So thank you all. Thank you.
Now, we'll welcome to our chairperson of this session with garland and shawl. Well, again, we welcome to all of you to this wonderful event and fourth academic session. And this session is going to chair by Dr. Grace Darling, ma'am. She is associate professor of this department. And in this session, we have 5 numbers of papers. Firstly, I myself, Dr. Rajulochan Behra, and Mono Apurva Saha, ma'am. Dr. Mono Apurva Saha. I think she's absent here. And next, Ganesh, Anita Yadav, Rakesh, all have occupied their seat. So we should start. Mono Apurva Saha, please have your seat here. Come. Okay, okay. Just, okay. Um, yes. We'll welcome to Mono Apurva Saha with garland and sir.
One more thing I wanted to, I forgot that actually. So Dr. Grace Darling, she is chairing this session, and recently, just uh, 15, 20 days back, she also represented this Bhagwan Shriyanath Jain Studies Fund at Austria. She was there at Austria. So she was a representative of this fund also, as well as from department. She represented the department also because just few months back we had a professor from Austria. He was here, and we had a number of academic meetings with him, and we had a kind of exchange program also on which we are moving on. So, uh, and next year we are planning uh, to initiate at least this name of this fund to even UNO, because she visited that place also, Geneva also she visited. So she is very well associated with this fund, Bhagwan Shneyasnath Fund. So that I wanted to introduce you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your good announcement of the good information. And I think the day will go ahead in a good manner. And now we'll start with Anita Yadav. She is the PhD research scholar of this department, working under Mukul Raj Mehta sir, and having a topic environmental sensitiveness in the Jainism in the context of Ekandriya Jiva. Yes, Anita.
Thank you, sir. Um, Good morning to all of you. My topic is environmental sensitiveness in Jainism in the context of Ekendri Jiv. First of all, I would like to say you that yesterday JB Shah sir said a very wonderful thing, that if Jain way, Jain way of life has to be brought to the national level, then the way of life has to be done it to be a way of life. Jain way of life brought in Broadway national level to be uh, way of life. Yesterday, JB Shah sir said this. This is the vision of Jain philosophy, Anekantvad, which find the solution of all problems in an intuitive way. Jain philosophy mainly based on three methodology. It called triple A. First A is ahimsa, second A is aparigraha, and third A is anekantvad. If we do any work on the basis of three method, then all work will be samyak for society. If we look at this vision from the perspective of Jain environment, then Jain philosophy has sensitivity in secondary view as well. If seen somewhere, the aim of the entire ethics of the Jain tradition is to protect other living beings. Therefore, Jain way of life is so scientific, it will prove to be very useful in environmental protection. First of all, know what is secondary Jiv. In Jiva Jiva Vigam, the Jiva has divided into five parts on the basis of sense organs, like Prithvi ka, Up ka, Tejo ka, Vayu ka, and Vanaspati ka Jiva. Almost all religions, Prithvi, Jal, Agni, Vayu, and Vanaspati, have been kept in the worship method, but it remained limited to worship only. Jain tradition is the only tradition which accepts Prithvi, Jal, Agni, Vayu, and Vanaspati as living beings. Jainism takes the concept of protection of Ekendri Jiv to Panchendri Jiv through Tri Ratna in its entire lifestyle. Jagdish Chandra Basu proved that there is life in plants too. Now science also believes water itself also has living beings, and water has innumerable living beings. Also, water is living, and many types of leaves exist in water. Like we are Zev, and many types of Zev exist in my body, in our body. There are innumerable living beings in the soil, and the soil itself is also living beings. Like we ourselves, our living beings, and there are innumerable living beings within us. Prithvi, Jal, Agni, Vayu, and Vanaspati have their own nature, and they also affects other livings. For example, a famous scientist, Huxley, has proved in uh, remaking the earth that the amount of soil on the tip of pencil contains billions of living beings. And in Jiva Jiva Vigam Granth, Gautam asked Bhagwan Mahavir how much Jiv in Prithvi ka hai. Bhagwan Mahavir answered that grossness of the Prithvi ka Jiv is innumerable Jiv on the tip of finger. And Huxley says that like a child birth and death in the earth, similarly in the other Ekendri Jeev, as will be the nature of soil, the living beings, trees and plants, there will be also according to the same and other Ekendri Jeev. Water is also living being, and it has innumerable living beings. There are 30,000 approximate 30,000 living beings in a single drop of water. It has become easy to prove Jain theories through modern technique. Nowadays, in this time, more technology that Jain theories prove easily. Nietzsche also says that the land of Germany is a Prachand Chandika. Now, conclusion. Today, the world is taking many measures to protect the environment. The reason for imbalance in the environment is man's possessive and violent nature. It is only Jain community that has a sense of sensitivity towards both living beings and Pudgal. Uh, Jain tradition already has a sense of water conservation. Jain way of life is one such method which is completely scientific. Today, the world is affected by many natural uh, calamities like global warming, sukha, baad, and mahamari, etc. Then the reason for this is inhuman behavior towards nature. The dream of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam can be fulfilled on earth only, on the earth only by Jain way of life, because Maitri, Karuna and Mudita is basis of the compassionate Jain way of life, while Ahimsa and Aparigraha are the pillars and Anikantavad is the roof. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita, for your good paper. So we can invite at least two questions on it. Okay. Thank you so much, Anita. You presented very well. So now I can request Rakesh, who is also the research scholar of this department, and he is going to present on the concept of reality in Jainist philosophy.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. I would like to say that this is my first paper presentation in English medium. Uh, I am very thankful for giving me a opportunity. Now I am coming my paper presentation. My paper is concept of reality in Jain philosophy. Jain philosophy has an important place in Indian philosophy. The concept of reality holds an important place in Jain metaphysics. Mahavir considering both these concepts of eternal and changeable truth prevalent in the past, defined it in a coordinative point of view by calling reality as a utpad and dhrabya. This tripad of Jain philosophy is the seed described by omniscience and Anekantvad, Syadvad, and Nayavad are different parts of the banyan tree that grow from the same seed, in which there is discussion of complete knowledge and partial knowledge of the true nature of absolute reality. The absolute knowledge of the true nature of the reality always a complex question. The limited human being. Being is not only that which we know, but it is a complex whole. He cannot be expressed. The subject of logic, intellect, thought, and language are so imperfect that they are not capable for the expressing the complete truth. Rather, it can be no completely without attaining perfection. In such a situation, in it would be false to claim that my vision is true. Truth with me only, the complete truth may be no but cannot be said. Whatever any attempt is made to express it, it become limited and partial because we cannot express the reality in the same language which is limited and incomplete. This is the reason why Jinwari also reveals the partial truth of that truth. It is that thus only because it considers the truth of composite truth to be relative, not absolute. For example, just a photographic of an object taken from different angle express the same object in spite of being different. Similarly, different word spoken from different perspective also express the truth. Philosophical problem arise when only one point of view is considered the whole world. For the reason Jenny believed that even two contradict facts can be true together. The one who is eternal from the point of view of Drab is also changeable from point of view prior. In this way, we see that the form of reality from different point of view in Jain philosophy called Anekantvad, Syadvad and Saptbhangi are the different forms where Syadvad is a relative truth of absolute truth. Saptbhangi indicate in the what form relative form can be expressed. Anekantvad has an important role in establishing coordination in the social, political, religious, etc. field. In the present time, personal life or social life has become stressful and turbulent. And one person with other person, one society with other society, one religion with other religion, and one country with other country have a sense of opposition and hostility. The main reason for the disharmony is the lack of a coordination idea. Everyone claims their view and idea to be true and universal. As a result, arise social, political, and religious unrest and hostility. Anekvad provide a new direction to the society struggling with these disparities and orderly. It's provide a new way in the system of faith and knowledge. The tone of the struggle change and the attitude of coordination become dynamic. The consciousness of truth discovery. Uh, the basis for the solution of all the conflict of the modern world also be anekantvad on the basis of which political conflict, social enmity, religious difference, economically inequality and cultural difference can be removed. In conclusion, we can say that the complete knowledge of truth can be done by standing in the circle of self-centered vision. Truth is present everywhere. Only our self-centered vision cannot see it, and if we see it, it must be by contaminating in which with our attachment. The same truth become untrue due to attachment, and same appears are as a truth with proper vision. Therefore, Mahavir said, if you want to find the truth, then arise above the circle of dogmas and become a seeker of truth by living the vision of self-center. Truth is never mine or someone else. Truth is God Himself. He is everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Rakesh, for a good paper. And I can invite at least two questions on it. Okay, we can proceed to the next. Ganesh. He's going to present a paper on role of Prakriti, language in Jain way of life. Yes.
ವಸುವೈಳೋರೋ ಸಾರುಳ ಪಡಿಮಾ ಸಂಕಂದ ಗೋರಿ ಮೊಹ ಅನ್ನಂ ಗಹಿ ಅಗ್ಘ ಪಂಕ ಅಂಬಿಯ ಸಂಧ್ಯಾ ಸಲಿಲಂಜಳಿ ನಮಃ ನಮೋ ನಮಃ. I am Ganesh Tiwari. Currently, I am teaching as a guest faculty of Sanskrit department in Sahid Rajguru College, University of Delhi. I am also senior research fellow of Sanskrit department, University of Delhi. I don't know much about Jain way of life, but I know Prakrit language and literature. Someday I got opportunity to teach Jain monks and nuns, and there I observed them life. I want to say about monks' life. अद्भुत. आप इमेजिन नहीं कर सकते कि जल का एक बूंद भी दीक्षा के साथ वो मुख प्रक्षालन के लिए यूज नहीं करते, फिर भी उनका चेहरा, उनकी भंगिमा इतनी अद्भुत प्रतीत होती है, उनका चेहरा इतना अद्भुत और स्वच्छ प्रतीत होता है. ये है जैन वे ऑफ लाइफ. दैट्स व्हाई आई थिंक language in Jain way of life. The Prakrit language has played a significant role in Jain way of life, particularly within the context of Jainism in ancient India religion that emphasizes non-violence, truth, self-control, and spiritual development. Prakrit language are closely associated with religious texts, philosophy, and culture of the Jain community. Jain way of life. Jain is an ancient Indian religion that emphasizes the principle of non-violence, ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, and aparigraha. Jain strive to live their lives in accordance with these principles in order attain moksha. Jain eat vegetarian diet and avoid harming living beings, even insects. They try to avoid unnecessary positions, don't eat food after sunset, and there are various other principles followed with them in daily life. Yes, an overview of the role in Jain way of life. The first one is sacred text and literature. The Jain religions scriptures, including canonical texts, are primarily composed in Prakrit language. These texts are written in various Prakrit dialects and contain the teaching of Tirthankaras and Jain philosophy. The most important Jain scriptures called Agamas or Sutras in Prakrit. These texts provided guidance on ethical conduct, spiritual practices, and path of liberation, moksha. Canonical texts. It means different branches of Jainism use different canonical practices for their sacred text. The two main categories are Ardha and Supraseni. These languages are chosen for their precision in conveying the intricate philosophical concept of Jainism. Sermons and teaching. Prakrit language were used by the acharyas and monks to deliver sermons and teaching. The simplicity of Prakrit allowed these profound teaching to be accessible to wide range of people irrespective of their linguistic background. Philosophical depth. Jainism complex philosophical concepts such as Anikantavada, Syadavada, Karma theory are intricately articulated in Jain texts, in the Prakrit texts. These concepts emphasize a comprehensive understanding to reality and promote spiritual growth. Cultural identity. This use of Prakrit language The use of Prakrit language in religious practices and literature has been major factor in the development of the Jain culture identity. It has created distinct linguistic heritage and set Jain apart within the broader Indian culture landscape. Religious chants and hymns. Prakrit language are also used the chanting or prayers, hymns and mantras during the religious ceremonies and rituals. The chants are an integral part of Jain worship and meditation practice, like Pratikramana. Literary contribution. Apart from religious texts, the Jain community has produced a wealth of secular literature in Prakrit language. The includes poetry, prose, stories, and philosophical works that contribute to the overall literary heritage of the community. Monastic tradition. The Prakrit language has been a vital part of monastic tradition of Jainism. Monks and nuns use the Prakrit language for their daily recitation, meditation, and discussion on spiritual matters. The precise and nuanced nature of the Prakrit language facilitates the accurate communication of intricate philosophical concepts among practitioners and scholars. Oral tradition. Okay, we have only 2 minutes, so that's why I only say the head topic: oral tradition, inscription and artificates, language and meditation. Prakrit chants and mantras are often used in Jain meditation practices. The rhythmic of melodic nature of these chants and facilitate a deep meditative experience, allowing the practitioners to connect with the spiritual teaching on the profound level. Community identity, cultural exchange, and some a few examples to illustrate the role of Prakrit language in the Jain way of life, like canonical texts, inscriptions, chants and mantras, Jain festival, modern Jain literature, Jain art. In conclusion, we can say the Prakrit language has played a central role in shaping in Jain way of life. It has been the medium through which the profound teaching, philosophy, and cultural experience of Jainism have been transmitted across generations. The use of Prakrit has contributed to the perseverance of Jain tradition and its unique worldview. In recent times, there have been efforts to revive the Prakrit language by Jain community and scholars and linguistics. These scholars and linguists work to translate the interpretation Asian Prakrit text, contributing to the better understanding of Jain philosophy and culture. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ganesh, for your informative talk. And I can invite at least two questions on it. Yes, ma'am.
Very much, Tiwariji. Since you have done researches on Prakrit, I'm curious, as I've just started my studies in Jainism, and one of the key texts is the Tattva Sarta Artha, right? Tattva Artha Sarta. And I'm just curious to know, it's considered the Bible for the Jainas, yet it's written in Sanskrit. So can you kind of do you go out on a whim and explain why there's this bifurcation or separation between Sanskrit and Prakrit, especially in very important canonical Jaina texts? Thank you.
I think for this question, uh, Jain philosopher can say correct answer. Sanskrit और प्राकृत both are not different language. सेम टाइम एक ही दोनों भाषाएं दोनों लोगों के लिए प्रचलित थी, क्योंकि जैन ट्रेडिशन, जैन मॉन्क्स सामान्य जन से कनेक्ट करने के लिए, सामान्य जन के बुद्धि में उस धर्म के प्रति, उस रिलीजन के प्रति ज्यादा संपर्क हो पाए, इसलिए उन्होंने प्राकृत में उपदेश देना प्रारंभ किया। और तत्वासुत बहुत बाद का ग्रंथ है, तो जो चीज प्राकृत में लिखी गई अनंतर वो सबके लिए उपयोगी हो जाए, उसके लिए संस्कृत का यूज किया गया है। वर्तमान समय में जो कुछ हिंदी में हम इंग्लिश में क्यों कर रहे हैं, ताकि बॉर्डर थिंग में हम पहुंच पाए, ज्यादा लोगों को हम समझा सकें जैनिज्म को। दैट्स व्हाई संस्कृत यूज इन दैट टाइम।
I have two questions. I shall put it together. You can answer at a time. One, Prakrit is not one single language. It is a family of about 40 languages. वो उसमें भेद है, महाराष्ट्री प्राकृत, शौरसेनी प्राकृत, etc., पैशाची, etc. So, which Prakrit should be learned? One. Second, whether from the point of view of maintaining the heritage, learning Prakrit need to be promoted, that is different. But is it actually necessary for the promotion of Jain culture? It could be this content in your paper, content is more strict. What is there in Prakrit Jain literature? That could be translated into many languages. Is it absolutely necessary to learn Prakrit, etc.? If yes, are there any concrete steps forward in the paper, or do you have any such suggestions in your mind?
Your first question was प्राकृत, about प्राकृत। प्राकृत भाषाएं एक ही हैं, वो डिफरेंट डायलेक्ट हैं। लाइक हिंदी, हिंदी इज वन लैंग्वेज, बट इन बिहार, इन हरियाणा, इन पंजाब डायलेक्ट इज चेंज। तो यदि आपको एकमात्र महाराष्ट्रीय प्राकृत आती है, आप सभी प्राकृत को आसानी से समझ सकते हैं, कहीं भेद नहीं है, मात्र क्षेत्र भेद है, डायलेक्ट भेद है। तो एक प्राकृत पढ़िए महाराष्ट्री, और आप जब महाराष्ट्री पढ़ते हैं तो साथ साथ सभी प्राकृतों को पढ़ते हैं, उसके लिए आपको अलग अध्ययन की आवश्यकता नहीं है। दूसरा प्रश्न कि सब कुछ अनुवाद है अन्य भाषाओं में, तो मूल प्राकृत को पढ़ने की क्या आवश्यकता? सही मीनिंग को, सही चीज को समझने के लिए मूल पढ़ना अत्यंत आवश्यक ही है। जो चीज जिस लैंग्वेज में लिखी गई, उस लैंग्वेज में जब तक हम नहीं पहुंचते, उसके डेप्थ तक हम नहीं पहुंच पाते। प्राकृत को समझने के लिए, आगम को समझने के लिए, विदाउट प्राकृत नॉलेज हम उस रूप में आगम को नहीं समझ सकते जो ट्रांसलेशन अथवा अन्य भाषाओं में अनुवाद के माध्यम से समझते हैं। थैंक यू सर।
Thank you. Now we'll proceed to another.
I would return your question. Yes, yours. What is your name, please? Renuji. So Renuji, Tattvartha Sutra was written in 1st century, so that was quite earlier, and it was perhaps one of the pioneer work, Jain work written in Sanskrit. So there is an anecdote of Siddhasena Divakar Suri where he was kind of he had to do atonement for proposing to convert Jain works or the concepts of Jainism into Sanskrit. So it is always prioritized to write Jain works in Prakrit. However, I would like to quote something from Upamiti Bhava Prapancha Katha of Siddharshi Gani, where he writes, so this is written in 900 CE, 906 CE. He says that Sanskrita Prakrita Cheti Bhashe Pradhanyam Arhatah. So both are prioritized. Tatrapi Sanskrita Tavad Durvidagdha Hridi Sthita. Durvidagdha. Logo Durvidagdha means the people whom it is very it is to whom it takes quite a time to please, right? So बालानाम अपि सद्बोधकारिणी कर्णपेशला. So while Prakrit is very easy and sweet to the ears of even children, tathapi prakruta bhasha na tesham api bhasate. So the Durvidagdha people, Prakrit cannot please them. Yeah. Upay sati kartavyam sarvesham chittaranjanam. So if it is possible, everybody should be pleased. Upay sati, if it is possible. Ataha tad anurodhena sanskrita iyam karishyate. And that is why I am writing this in Sanskrit. Na cha iyam mati gudhartha na dirgha vakya dandakaihi na च अप्रसिद्ध पर्यायैहि तेन सर्वजन उचिता. So even though it has very deep meanings, long sentences and etc., but still I would choose to write it in Sanskrit. However, the same author wrote Samraitya Kaha in Prakrit. So all the Jain authors did have choice, but according to the serving others to be get into the mainstream dialogues and obviously, so there are works, Sanskrit works we can still read. There are difficult which are works written in medieval languages, so maybe for its long lasting existence, maybe because in Sanskrit it remains written in stone. It's like,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
See, basically, Swami was there, and later on there was this Agam Parampara, which means that whatever he said is to be followed. There was a trust in Aptapurush, because those are the vachan of Aptapurush. You don't discuss them; you just accept them as they are. Right now, that was the lineage we have. Now, what happened? There is this. They have divided this into darshan. The darshan kan. When philosophical, not just philosophical, but discussion. Because you did not have Aptapurush explain whatever he is trying to say. Not in logic. Everything was discussed based on logic. Logic was being followed by all the elite, not the masses. So, all the elite people wrote in Sanskrit. And Jainas did not have any of their Sanskrit. So Jainas as a low intelligent and Acharyas are brilliant in that sense. They both to satisfy bias, or you can call it when they were debating on the basis of the logic, that's when, and that's where, according to the concept of switching over, that is one of.
Thank you so much. Now, I am going to present my paper. I am Dr. Rajulachan Behera. The paper is Explorations of Polysemantics of Knowing, Doing and Seeing in Appraisal of Jainist Philosophy of Language. As we know, the problems of philosophical semantics in philosophy of language is not a new problem, but Professor Sagarmal Jain has highlighted some basic issues of the same, and he tried to resolve the problems through a cognitive linguistic approaches and analytic method. The focal focus of this paper is to explore the polysemantics of knowing, doing, and seeing through the reconciliation of materiality and immateriality of language in Jainist philosophy of language, implementing the cognitive linguistic approach and analytic method. The author paid attention to the polysemantics properties of words in the study of Jainist language regarding knowing, doing, and seeing. However, in the theory of Triratna, each meaning of the polysemantics words is interpreted as a separate word. It discusses the phenomena of polysemy in language, the linguistic description of this concept, the fact that issues related to the development of semantics are the problem of linguistics and the methods of manifestation of phenomena of polysemy. The phenomenon of ambiguity, meaning migration in language, has attracted the attention to the author too. In this context, S. person says, if language were freed from polysemantic words, it would have become a linguistic hell. According to Jain's place of language, polysemy is one of the main features of the nature of language, and this feature is a great achievement of the language system, as well as the basis of the fact that the information text has through a nature structure. Polysemantics of a word is rooted in the fundamental structure of language. In this context, S. Allman argues that the further progress of semantic rooted in semantic universality in fundamental structure of the language. And he added that the development of civilization often necessitate not only the creation of words, but also the imposition of new meaning of old words. The more meanings of word contains, the more diverse aspect of mental and social activity. He points out, indeed, polysemy is a semantic universality, frees the human brain from the obligation to store the alarming amounts of words. Polysemantics in linguistics has been categorized into several types. In this context, there are several linguists have categorized like J. Maruchin identified three types of polysemy: metaphor, metonymy, and L.A. Blavatsky identifies six types: metaphor, functionality, emotionality, metonymy, folk etymonymy, and relevances. What is the nature of the word? There are several views regarding the same, but I would focus on two main philosophical views which have usually come ahead to answer the questions like substantive and attributive. Nevertheless, concerning the nature of word and word sentences in Jainism, both substantive and attributive views, and in addition to this, it has emphasized the materiality and immateriality in language. When the substantive view is granted for the discussion of the nature of words and languages, it is regarded that a word is a particular mode of material substance, and they regard substance and it modes of identical. While in the case of attributive view, it is non-eternal quality of object, so it is regarded as attributive. As you know, the word Brahman, who through the word creates all things, what is identical to Brahman. The word Brahman and Atman bear some secret meanings. Sometimes, to prove the existence of Brahman and Atman, the word Brahman and Atman are the material cause of this world. The possibility of hearing the words Atman and Brahman only because of this Sabda Brahma, eternal Bharvam. It is the civilization of Brahman and patterns Atmans that based on its Sabda Brahman. Moreover, Sabda Brahman is Spota. It means that if we regard letters A, B, C, D, A's are words, and how can then we shall able to comprehend meaning? Neither every letter or the aggregations of the perishable letters are indicators of meaning. For example, the term Rosa and Sama, etc. have two letters, but their succession makes a difference in the meaning. As the aggregates of the letters cannot give only the meaning in a similar way, the comprehension of many of different objects simultaneously from the word is not possible. The common person takes a noun or verb to be a unit of signifying meaning, without reference to the plurality of letters and syllables, which are the products of speculative thought. Now, Bhattacharya argues that what exists in the world, mind of the speaker is a unity or spota. When he utters it, he produces a sequence of different sounds so that it appears to have differentiation. The listeners, through fast hearing a series of sounds, ultimately perceives the utterances as a unity, the same spot in which the speaker begins and ends meaning is conveyed. Bhattacharya besides mentions three main views regarding word, which accept word as made of the substance. Word is a function of Vayu, Paramanu, Jnana. In Jainism, the word understanding It means that faith comes before understanding. We have to understand Brahman and Atman in which soul in order to have faith, because our faith is Brahman and Atman lead us to a deeper understanding of Brahman and Atman. As you know, Saint Aslam has used in phrases and faith-seeking understanding. He argues that understanding involves some sort of seeing and whole by grasping the interrelatedness of the parts. Now comes so the second part is knowing doing as a form of ethico onto epistemological language. The notion of ethico onto epistemological language was first coined by physicist philosopher Karen Vareta's point of search in inseparability of ethic, ontology, and epistemology when engaging in language production with scientific practices and with the world itself in its inhabitants, human and non-human being, that intra-activities constitute the world. Jain ethico-onto-epistemological perspective refers to the unity between being, knowing, and doing. According to Jainism, our knowledge and action reveals the nature of things neither insufficiently, nor with exaggerations, nor falsely, but exactly as it is, and with certainty. It is also been stated that our knowledge and action consists of having full comprehension of the real nature of the soul and matter. However, here knowledge is considered as right knowledge that is completely based on the right belief. Nevertheless, after attending to this knowledge, we have to create from weapons and our duty. We are road into our goal mukhya. After the right belief and right knowledge, that our most important part of the goal mukhya is the right conduct. In Jainism, utmost importance in addition to the right conduct. Conduct becomes perfect only when it is tuned with the right belief and right knowledge. Therefore, the importance of right conduct in the process of self-realization consists in the fact that is only when the right knowledge based on the right belief in translate into practical and spiritual discipline. That is that the path of emancipation of the soul from the cycle of birth and death becomes both. Right faith and perception creates an awareness of reality and truth. That right knowledge impels a person to the right action, and right conduct leads into the attainment of liberations. The most that exists in a person if he is to make any progress on the path of liberation, the absence of the makes of the ascent impossible. Now come for the next part, seeing and doing is a form of ethical language. Now, the function of ethical language is to explore the meaning of ethical words or sentences. The function of ethical language is not to make judgment about what is right or wrong. As we know, the main task of ethics is to make moral judgment, and these judgments are propositions that are true or false. Suppose you say cheating is bad, that is true. In this context, AJR says that. AJR rejects this theory of meaning of ethical word or sentences. He says ethical judgments are not propositions at all, despite just a grammatical form. Ethical words or sentences are just expressions or emotions. They are neither true or false, because they are not assertion of fact here. The emotive theory of meaning is divided into two theories. Emotive theory of subjectivism, emotive theory of utilitarianism. According to emotive theory of subjectivism, ethical judgment is an assertion of the feelings of approval by the speaker or by a group. But this theory is mistaken since it is not contradictory to self. It's not contradictory for a speaker to say that he or she approves of speak something immoral, or for someone to say that so what a group approves is immoral. According to utilitarianism, a moral action is one that promotes the greatest happiness for all concerned, but this theory is incorrect because it is not self-contradictory to say what in action that promotes the greatest happiness is immoral. Now, come for the last part of this paper is language is form of life. If you know that all life for all of us is just a pathwork of thoughts, what objective, hints, perception, actions, and interpretation in discourse. Because through discourse, language represents different worldview and provides different understanding. According to method of language analysis, language plays a vital role, attaching meaning to our knowing, doing, and saying in the world. In the analysis of language, the relationship between linguistic and non-linguistic behavior has been examined that the elements of language vary from knowing, doing, and saying. But it suggests that for the cultivation of semantics through the process of integration of all these elements, the primary purpose of analysis of language is to discover the minimal semantics appropriateness in the analysis. It underlines ideas of conversation and express expectation and cost on the growth of semantic regarding the relation between cognition and semantics. Because the relation between cognition and semantics reproduces is form of semantic that is collaborative social action where the users use language jointly collaborates in the cultivation of semantics for the integral nature of knowing, doing, and saying. In order to examine the better understanding of how language functions in fundamental form of understanding for the relationship between cognition and semantics, the semantic expansions from monosemantics to polysemantics. Polysemantics. Here, the primary purpose is to recheck the relationship between what is conveyed in the provide semantics to the language to understand and attach semantics to some conversation and the context under which it conversation takes place. Nevertheless, the boundary of semantics is invisible within the semantic horizon, particularly in the present context, significantly discussing certain categories of horizon related to Jain's doctrine of Triratna, knowing, doing, and saying. That is not confined to ordinate semantics, but rather beyond it's jointly constructed in building of semantics, named as cognitive semantics. This is context. In this context, Louis Wittgenstein writes in his book On Certainty that a picture of a form of life by analogy to flowing river. To flowing river, however, in the dogmas of semantics, particularly regarding to boundaries of the semantics of sentence meaning and word meaning, as well as boundaries which linguistics and non-linguistic behaviors of the patent of the people's expression. In addition to Wittgenstein's point, James Paul Key argues that no meaning is fixed, meaning is always in flux. Here, what is just general meaning? They have different and specific meaning in different contexts in which they are used by different points of people's expression. Here, what is something that is considered the semantics of the integration of knowing, doing, and saying in Jainism? Now, concluding. The research has demonstrated the connection between semantics and cognitions in order to discover or cultivate semantic of word or sentences that are related to our knowing, doing, and saying. We have to count that individual cognition with social cognition through social integration, intergroup relationship to social representations. This connection provides polysemantics of the importance of attributive view of semantics for sociological semantics. Indeed, in the context, in the next decade, it may be the force of attributive view of semantics will be more in research of cognitive semantics for the determination, discovery, and cultivation of polysemantics. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes.
I did not figure out कि आपका paper क्या था. Can you explain it in one sentence? What is the essence of your research paper?
Polysemantics.
Essence क्या है आपके research paper का?
Essence is knowing, doing, and seeing how whatever you are doing, you have to think, you have to see.
तो इससे क्या निकला?
Sorry?
तो इससे समझ में क्या आता है?
समझ में
क्या आता है?
if you don't see, you cannot know. Okay, if you cannot know, you cannot act. So to do or to act or to see, that means cannot be take part and part or separately. We should take it in a holistic way. And if it is the case, then you will find multiple meanings of your doing, your seeing, and your knowing. So how to understand in a multifarious way Even if you are doing any kind of single job or any kind of particular activities, you have to understand the multiplayer ways. Not for you. You should grant for all. It should be beneficial for all. So that I presented here through the lens of the Jainist philosophy of language.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really heavy paper, and you also means jumping on the throughout. That's why I also cannot register something. In
Mm.
between, you have mentioned ethico onto epistemological semantics, right?
Hmm.
Okay.
Ethico onto epistemological language.
Language. Okay.
Language or semantics.
I didn't understand that one. You just mentioned. I mean, you just explained it more.
Yes.
The in a general way, as well as what is the significance of the particular term in Jaina language. Since you are in your paper, you have mentioned the polysemantics, isn't it? So, how you have justified the particular term in your paper?
Hmm. Okay, fine. As you know that as a scholar of language and basically philosophy of language scholar, we understood that how language functions. When we utter a sentence or a word, how it is related to or it takes space in time, in space, and it functions. So when a person uses this any word or sentence, the person is firstly a social being, a linguistic being, an ethical being, a moral being, a religious being. So all the aspects are somehow either directly or indirectly interconnected with his or her expressions. That cannot be taken out and claim that it means something else. Therefore, it is stated by a physics philosopher. I said that physicist philosopher Baron Barrett. So how he categorically accounted this and explain the language to provide a own semantics of the language. Everyone should or take or grant the sentence or word in a multifarious way, not in a single way. Otherwise, there will be always conflict and misunderstanding among all of us. Thank you. Yes, yes. Yes, now, yes, I now we have another important paper. Good. Uh, yes, yes, I know. Now we'll go for Dr. Mano Prabhasaha. Yes, now we have another important speaker, Dr. Mano Prabhasaha. She's going to present a paper on some aspect of the Jainist concept of Parigraha and modern day minimalist lifestyle.
Good morning, everyone. Pranam, Jai Jinendra. I'm Mana Shah. Mana is my name, Shah is my surname. I'm a lecturer of Sanskrit at Indian Institute of Technology, Gandhinagar. I mostly teach Sanskrit to BTech, MSc, MTech, PhD students. And my area of research is mainly Jainism, Jain historiography, and Jain literature. So here is my humble attempt to do a little bit of comparison between the Jain concept of a parigraha, which we consider as one of the vratas of Shravak, and also sadhu, the parigraha parimana vrat, and the Western concept of minimalism, Now a lot has been written on both these concepts, so there is nothing new which I have done. Also, because of time constraint, I could not find any research gaps and pursue those gaps. I have just done an overview of the concept of parigraha pariman and minimalism. So the first aspect which I would like to throw attention to is where the foundation of these concepts are. So in Jainism, or let's say all the major Indian philosophies and also in world philosophies, this concept of aparigraha is discussed to certain extent. It is even part of the Ashtanga Yoga, right? It is part of the niyamas. In Jainism, uh, the final goal of life is considered as moksha, and to reach moksha we have moksha marga, which is samyak jnana darshan charitra. In charitra, samyak charitra, there is sadhu achar and shravak achar. Among, so sadhus have to take 5 mahavratas, that is absolute vows, and the shravakas have to take anuvratas, that is non-absolute vows. So there are some limitations, but uh, they do also have to take these vows. So out of 5 anuvratas, this parigraha is one of the anuvrata. Parigraha pariman, that is limiting the possessions. Now all of you here are more or less acquainted with the concept, so I need not go into the details there. There also, yes, so among the shravakas, 4 kind of, so shravakas are seen from the from the perception of 4 nikshepas. Among in the shraddha vidhi prakaran, the bhav shravakas are supposed to take 5 anuvrata. So there are shravakas just for the namesake, for the sthapnas, for so-called shravakas. Then there are dravya shravakas, and then there are bhava shravakas. Bhava shravakas are supposed to follow the 5 anuvratas. Now, in the West, this concept has been discussed in last 2 centuries widely. One of the major example where this concept is discussed is Henry David Thoreau's book Walden, where the author went into the woods, built a small hut, and lived near a pond with the minimalistic approach. He lived there with very little possessions, and then wrote his book describing his experience. So accordingly, there has been many people um trying to practice minimalism, and they have described their experiences. I could find more books on minimalism and less on parigraha pariman. That shows how popular the concept is in the West. So in the West, I could say that this concept is rooted in the search or in the quest of happiness. Now, when people, the West, which is blinded by materialism, they are tired of collecting things, and then at one point of time, some people sensitive enough realize that it's too much, and more they possess, lesser happiness that they find. So ultimately, they try to shed off all their possessions, and that is what they call minimalism. So the Western concept of minimalism is rooted in their quest for happiness, I would say. Now, how certainly the West and Jainism deal with these concepts? In the Pratikraman Sutra, or Shravak Pratikraman Sutra of Shwetambar Jainism, this concept is discussed in the Vanditu Sutra, where it is bifurcated between Bahya, that is external, and Abhyantar, that is internal parigraha. So that is first bifurcation. And then among both the classes, there are subclasses and sub-subclasses. So I would say that Jainism has studied this concept in quite minute form. Right? You may have a look at this sutra if You can maximize this, but nevertheless, I would just read it. Itu anuvaye panchamammi ayariyamappa sattammi parimana parichye itha pamayappa sangenam, etc., etc. And then dhana, dhana, khitta, vattu, rupa, suvanne, etc. All the areas in which one can limit parigraha is discussed. Similarly, in West, the internal possession, that is abhyantar pariman, is not discussed. Only external possessions are discussed, that is materialistic possessions. But different people practice minimalism differently, and psychological, neurological, and spiritual areas of a human life is explored in the context of minimalism, whereas I could not find how it affects in one's life in the context of Jainism. Because in the Jain works, mostly it is described how it should be practiced rather than how it affects. I mean, which we know that it would ultimately lead to karmakshay, and karmakshay will lead to moksha. But for people like us, moksha seems quite far away, and before reaching moksha, we aim to uplift the human life. So that is less discussed. I'm not saying it is not there, it is discussed less in the Jain works. So that is why the youth, I'm talking about the youth of my age and my peers, so they think that the concept of parigrah is religious, is limited to only people who practice rituals. It is related to it should be practiced by dadas and dadis and only the monks and nuns. It is nothing to do with us. That is what we believe. It is old fashioned. मतलब कौन करता है आज ये सब? And while if you just type the word minimalism in Google, you would see youngsters practicing minimalism. You will see thousands of books, thousands of images, posters, experiences, reels telling how they practice minimalism. So the minimalism could be said that it has been a craze now. It's a fad. It's fashionable. It's attractive. You will see books like these. There is also a Netflix documentary on minimalism where they say that it's very interesting. But how can these people be so different and yet still be minimalistic? The authors are talking about people practicing minimalism in different ways. He says that brings us back to our original question: what is minimalism? If we had to sum it up in a single sentence, we would say minimalism is a tool to rid yourself of life's excess in favor of focusing on what's important, so you can find happiness, fulfillment, and freedom. How both the concepts are practiced. So every person who is practicing Jainism to any level, whether it is a Shravak or Sadhu, they are supposed to practice if they have been practicing or have taken any amount of vows. There is also a beautiful thing called Chaud Niyam, 14 or Chaudah Niyam, where a person has to think how much he would utilize in a day, how much water, how many clothes, electricity, etc., etc. To sleep or before doing the evening pratikraman, he has to sum up what he or she has actually used. So this gives kind of a attention or makes one aware. We are actually not aware of how many buckets of water we have used in a day, what waste we have done, and that leads to the concept of sustainability. So the word sustainability, eco-friendliness, everything is in fashion, but one doesn't actually. I think there is also a paper which has been presented or going to be presented on eco-friendliness. But I would say the root of sustainability or eco-friendliness lies here in this concept of parigraha pariman of Jainism. The minimalism, how it is practiced, I would say that it is practiced as one is pleased. So you will see, just have a look at this guy. All he possesses is 51 things. So this is all his possessions in this world. This is all he possesses. He puts his possessions in a bag and roams around in world, and that is how he practices basically parigraha pariman, but in a very fashionable way, I would say. Look at this home. It's a one room home. It is called tiny home. It has living room, kitchen, study, bathroom, bedroom, everything in a very small space, whereas we would want spaces and spaces and spaces. I would like to finally discuss aim. So the aim of parigraha is, like I said earlier, it is moksha. So we first try to practice deshavirti, that is limiting ourselves to a certain thing. Then finally sarvavirti, that is shedding off all the possession, which would lead to karmakshay and which would ultimately lead to moksha. However, there is the concept of moksha or liberation is missing in the Western uh, mindset. So the ultimate aim of minimalism is eternal happiness, which we could compare with moksha. So they want hassle-free life, mess-free life. They want to overcome their mental issues, and they want to find a happiness beyond materialistic possessions. I'd like to read this sentence that by incorporating minimalism into our lives, we have finally been able to find lasting happiness, and that's what we are looking for, the lasting happiness. I'd like to end this with this shloka. Akinchannasya dantasya shantasya samachetasah sada santushta manasah sarva sukhamaya disha. Thank you so much.
Many, many thanks, Mono Purvasaha, for your good and very interesting, innovative way of putting the Jainish thought or concept. Now, questions on it.
So, dear Manaji, I have few queries, not questions. So, there is one concept of a Murcha Parigraha written by Acharya Umaswami in his text Tattvartha Sutra. So, is in this present time or era, is it important? And because you, I think, not discussed much about Murcha. We just, as you said, just minimalization of anything, but it is the external abundance of anything. But I think inside what is going on, that's matter much more. So this is first query, and the Jainism is known for ahimsa basically, but you discuss aparigraha. So there is one writer, Sri Padam Chand Jain, who wrote a book on aparigraha, and he proved that Jainism has an important role of aparigraha more than ahimsa. So what do you think about this? And there is one lack also I am watching in this discussion, that there is Karm Siddhant. So one who is following the procedure of minimalization, and the another one who is the following the traditional Jain way of aparigrahavad, of as a Mahavrata or as a Anuvrata. So is there Karm theory work with both sects? properly, or the minimalization will get more karm nirjara, or which one? So what do you think?
Very interesting questions, Anandji. So I would like to begin with the last answer first. Of course, as I mentioned, the concept of minimalism completely lacks Siddhant. Yes. Okay, sorry. It is not rooted into any Siddhant. And the concept of karma nirjara is totally absent. It only focuses on happiness. Mm, No, I believe that if one would pursue it while rooting something in a Siddhant, one can always come back to it and follow it more strongly. Because fashions come and go. I mean, one may just tired of having 51 things and one may just leave minimalism. But if you take the vratas or if you are following a siddhant, which are all interlinked, so through one way or another, you will always come back to your main aim, which is moksha. So I would definitely say that the concept of parigraha pariman or a parigraha is long lasting one. It has lasted over the past millenniums and it will last, whereas the minimalism may come and go. I mean, we never know. The second, I would answer the second question. Since I have not read the work, I would not yet comment. And about the first question, what was it? Murcha, yes. So murcha is the reason given for a parigraha, and the abhyantar parigraha is not at all discussed in the West. So the abhyantar parigraha, I think, is even more dangerous. So one should better understand that and then practice the bahya parigraha. That would be, yes. So that would definitely bring better results, I would say. I'm no expert, but in Jainism, Anekantavad, Hinsa and Aparigraha are all there. So, and Jainism allows everybody to see things through all the perspectives. So, whichever one may practice or one would be pleased. Yes. Yes.
There's someone
you.
else who wanted to ask a question. I don't want to steal the floor. Is it okay?
There was one more slide of my references, but it's missing anyway. Yes.
I want to offer a radical critique to you. In terms of terminology and lexicon and language, is it fair to compare and to use aparigraha with minimalism? Is it dangerous to make that connect so easily? Because that term itself is Sanskrit, and I learned a little bit of Sanskrit, and every akshram has meaning, and there's deficiencies across translation. So I think we have to be a little careful about language. Thank you.
That is why I have not used the word aparigraha in my prayer. I had used the word parigraha pariman. Pariman means limiting. And minimalism is limitation. And of course, nothing can compare or nothing can translate Sanskrit terms. There are similarities. I'm not saying it's upama alankar, not rupak. And so that is why I'm just making a comparison and not saying that they are the one.
Thank
It has some similarities.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now just one, only one.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mana, for your really interesting presentation. I've just a couple of queries. Towards the end of your presentation, you mentioned that this aparigraha is for the purpose of attaining moksha, right? But I'm keen to understand, if someone is not interested in attaining moksha, will there be still a prescription for people to be parigrahi, right? I mean, to be as minimalistic in their possession of the worldly things.
In that case,
Let
yes.
me complete.
Yes, yes.
So, because I understand that this concept of moksha in many of the Indian philosophical systems is more individualistic, right? It has hardly any dimension to social well-being. I mean, the moksha has to be attained individually. So you need to be aparigrahi only because you need to attain moksha. Whereas I can see that this practice of aparigraha could have a more you say uh, importance for the society, because when you are extremely possessing the worldly things and you are going blindly to after the worldly possession, then I think this can minimize the scope for the well-being of the others. And that is where it can also have a social dimension, being aparigrahi. But if it is necessarily linked with attainment of the moksha, and which is individualistic concept, then I think one cannot have appeal to be aparigrahi if there is no purpose of moksha as a end. So how would you like to respond to
Well,
this?
that was quite a deep question, and I wonder if I would be able to answer it properly. Yet I would try. So basically, through this question, you are questioning the Tirthankara's conduct, because their final aim was moksha. And while attaining moksha, they did kalyan of the entire world. Right? So it means that anything which helps us in moksha would be helpful to everybody, all the living beings around us. So I would stop at here, because it is important to understand whether moksha is an individual aim or is it for the society.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, the time is to extend our
Maybe perhaps later.
session to, sorry?
Later on, I mean. Yeah.
Okay, yes, thank you. Now we'll proceed to present the session by Dr. Grace Darling, who is the Associate Professor of the department. My request to ma'am, please present the session.
Thank you everyone for attentively listening to all the lectures, and also thanks to everyone, many dignitaries coming from different places to this very, very important program. I really appreciate you all coming in the morning and concentrating on important issues that would help our way of life to be more peaceful, and also to be to be aware with what is going on in our environment, and how to protect our environment, and also so that we will have more peaceful living, especially by being minimalist, and also by considering each other, that everyone's idea is acceptable. So we have many important core things that we can appreciate in Jainism. Each of the respected people had presented in a very beautiful way, short and straight to the point, and I really appreciate for keeping the time also, and also presenting in a very meaningful way. And also I also thank on behalf of the committee for raising important questions as well, friendly questions. So whenever I chair, I would always say that to raise friendly questions. Yes, and then I think there's no need to sum up. It's already time as well, so I don't need to sum up. Everybody had listened to the lectures delivered carefully, and yes, I really thank everyone for participating, concentrating nicely, giving your precious time, and we will see you in the next session. And I think we have a small tea break now. Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Very, very thankful to all of you, especially Grace Darling ma'am, who chaired this session, presided this session, and also thankful to our paper presentators, listeners, and always thankful to Dr. Rajiv Lochan Behra ji. So now we are ready to.
So a very interesting thing we witnessed in this session, and that was a couple, they have discussion. The paper was by husband, and the question was from his wife. So this was a wonderful event of this session. That was special. So and today I would like to say happy Onam also to Simi and to Rajiv. So happy Onam. Today is Onam.
Happy
So
Onam to all of you.
Thank you. And to Renu Paul also.